Hey, if you like my content, please consider subscribing, drop a like on my video, and share it on social media. Thanks. Recently, I've been engaging in a activity which I don't do a lot of because it is a huge time sink, and that is spending time on Facebook. I won't bore you with the details as to why I've been doing this, but it's not something I've done in years. I might pop onto Facebook once a year and just kind of see what's going on there for about 10 minutes and then go about my day. Wow, things have gotten bad out there. Things are terrible, and I didn't realize this. So I received this post here. Someone needs to explain to me why wanting clean drinking water makes you an activist, and why proposing to destroy water with chemical warfare doesn't make a corporation a terrorist. 100% agree with the sentiment here. Everybody, every community in this country should have access to clean drinking water right out of the tap, and nobody, especially not corporations, should be allowed to pollute water. I also agree that, hey, you shouldn't be mislabeling people, right? The word activist might not be the exact correct word in this situation, and I'm pretty sure the word terrorist is not the correct word in regard to this, but it's definitely criminal, and I get where they're going, what they're coming from. I agree with the sentiment, like I said, and definitely don't be mislabeling people. That's something that really bothers me. When you accuse somebody of being something they are not, when you accuse somebody of doing something they are not, and when you mislabel people, it's akin to the same thing. So, what did I say in response? This is me right here. Yeah, also, I need to understand why peaceful protesters are murdering people and burning down buildings. Oh boy, that was the wrong thing to say. That was very much the wrong thing to say. Now, in the past, I worked with some of these people. I've spent time with them outside of work, and I contacted them on Facebook. We connected with each other there. So I thought, all right, these people are reasonable enough. And now, over the years, I have shifted a little bit to the right, not much. These people have shifted to the left, more so than I've shifted to the right, but wow, this is just painful. So Mr. V here, I'm going to call him Mr. V, says, don't know where you heard that protesters are murdering people, but any buildings that were lit up during protests have now been linked to white nationalists and undercover police who admitted to trying to enrage protesters and make them look bad so police could have reason to use deadly force. During the protests, police have killed 3 people and injured several others. I have friends at these protests with body cams. I've seen the footage. The protests truly are peaceful till police show up. Oh god, this is okay. Okay. All right. So this is coming from a person that I always thought was very reasonable and intelligent. Apparently not. So your friends don't have footage of this. You have not seen footage of this. If your friends do have footage of this, why isn't it the only thing that the country is talking about it? Forget the Kung Flu. Forget the elections. Forget the riots and the protests. This right here, police instigating riots so they can use deadly force, that would be the #1 story of 2020. Of 2020. Across the entire, not the nation, across the entire Western world. This would be the number one story. The police are instigating riots so they can use deadly force. If the police want to kill people, they'll go kill them. Having killed 3 people in all these riots, I think the police are doing a pretty damn good job then. And I don't think they've even killed that many people, but we'll go with it. We'll say that's what's happened. Wow, this is insane. Okay, and let's assume that they have been linked to white nationalists. These businesses that have been destroyed. No, you don't get to burn down people's buildings, people's businesses, people's homes because they're white nationalists. That's the price of freedom. People can have whatever opinion they want to have. It's like saying, "Oh, look, I see somebody assaulting somebody else. I'm going to go burn down their house." What? No, that's not how you handle the situation. Whoa, that was just. All right, then let's move on and see what else they have to say. So this one right here was not a big deal. It's like, okay, he's just saying you're wrong. All right, well, you disagree. We would have footage of this, but it would be all over the place. The media would have a field day with it. And then the original poster of this, Mr. M. Now I did edit the order of these responses so it flows a little bit better, but these are the actual responses that I received. Mr. M, the original poster of this. Also, this isn't even in regards to BLM. It's in regards to tribes not having clean water. When did I say BLM? I said protests. I mentioned protesters. I didn't say BLM at all. And I'm not discounting the tribes having clean water. That's an issue that needs to be dealt with. I'm just saying don't mislabel things. Don't call somebody a murderer if they're not a murderer. Don't call somebody an activist if they're asking for what should be a basic standard of living. And then Mr. H chimes in, who I don't even know who this person is. Mr. M and Mr. V, I've worked with both these guys. I've spent time with them outside of work. Mr. M is not as reasonable and intelligent as Mr. V in my experience, but apparently they both have just gone off the deep end. So Mr. H chimes in, yeah, but what about whataboutism? Did you consider that? When did I say what about? I never said what about. I said, yeah, I agree with this. So yeah, that's an affirmation where I agree with what's being said here. Also, not yeah, but. I said yeah, also. There's no but here. I agree with everything that was said in the original post. Don't mislabel people. That's all I'm saying. Don't mislabel the peaceful protesters. Don't mislabel people who want to have clean drinking water, and don't mislabel people who are poisoning drinking water or water in general. All right, we come down here to Mr. H again. Ticks yes on all questions. What? What is that? I don't know what that is. I don't know what ticks yes on all questions is. Is he talking about like if I'm taking a test, I just go down yes, 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 yes on all of the yes no questions? I don't know. So then I chime in. What questions? And Mr. F pops in. I don't know who this person is again. You are dumb. Like seriously, is there something wrong with you that you have limited mental capacity for understanding, or are you here just being a privileged douche? Um, uh, what? Where's this coming from? How did I just was pointing out that there are people mislabeling people all the time, and it's wrong. That's all I was saying. And then I respond to Mr. F. Well, let me see. I can type complete sentences using proper American English, so does that answer your question? I should have put a question mark there. Don't really understand why you would need to understand if I'm intelligent or not, though. And then I respond to Mr. V, telling him, look, I've seen on the ground footage too, and it shows protesters burning down buildings and insulting people before the police arrive. There are people who claim they are BLM supporters who have had their businesses burned to the ground. There are businesses who don't care either way and just want to make a buck and have had their businesses burned down. Many of these businesses are owned by people who aren't white. Being a white nationalist doesn't mean you should have your business burned to the ground. In the U.S., we have freedom of speech and opinion. Some of these fires have led to death. Look up Michael Reinl. He was an Antifa member. There is actual footage of him stalking and killing a Trump supporter. Don't believe the lies. And then I respond to Mr. M. I never said the two had anything to do with each other. I'm simply pointing out that there are other instances when this happens. I 100% agree with the original post. I also don't think we should be referring to rioters as peaceful. Okay, then I respond to Mr. H. Yes, of course I consider that. This is the whataboutism guy. Yes, of course I considered that. Dumbass. I never said that the original post wasn't correct. Idiot. I simply pointed out another instance of this sort of thing happening. Retard. He clearly made the whataboutism post because he doesn't like me. He just automatically assumes that he knows everything about me and that I am wrong. Otherwise, why would you leave a post like that? Why wouldn't you just say, why are you whataboutisming this? And he would have a question. He would ask a legitimate question, going, "Hey, look, why would you do that? What's wrong with you?" Instead of just pointing the finger and saying, "You're wrong because of this." So then a Mr. E chimes in. So it is more important to point out the violent part of a completely protest instead of the actual message in this post. Okay, that doesn't make any sense, but I'll assume that I understand what he's saying there, and I'll move on to what I responded with. Okay, well, apparently I touched a nerve, Mr. E. I never said that the original post was inaccurate in any way. I simply pointed out another instance of this happening. Maybe don't jump to conclusions. Very reasonable response, I think. And then I also said the same thing again. I'm just pointing out that it happens. But why point it out at all? Your want to highlight that other protests turn violent have nothing to do with the original post subject matter. All you're doing is wanting to elicit a response for what? It is not constructive commentary in any way. It is wasting people's time. Wasting people's time, I respond. Like you are right now? Yeah, you know what I really think. No, I don't. And now, nor do I care. I'm sorry, and I point this out later to him, but saying your want to highlight that other protests turn violent have nothing to do with the original post subject matter. All you're doing to wanting to elicit a response for what? Which doesn't make any sense, but I think what he's trying to say there is all you're doing is you're trying to elicit a response. And I wasn't trying to elicit a response. I legitimately was trying to say, look, mislabeling is wrong, just like mislabeling here with the calling rioters peaceful protesters. That's wrong too. That's all I was saying. Then Mr. M comes in, again like other threads that you have commented on. Your commentary is off, and your initial points are clear, but way off from the subject matter. Again, it's worrying that you seem to have a one-track mind calling out BLM protests. Additionally, Mr. V has seen footage friends have taken, which are first-hand accounts of the whole event. You have been watching QAnon films that are highly edited. Yeah, okay, so I one-track mind calling out BLM protests? When? When did I do that? One other time that I did. You can look at my timeline. There's nothing that I've posted on there about BLM. The only thing that I might have mentioned BLM in is these people were saying that Kyle Rittenhouse, he went to Kenosha to hunt down and kill peaceful protesters. I might have mentioned BLM when I was informing them of how they're wrong about Kyle Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse went to Kenosha to help the protesters. But in addition to this person being wrong about me mentioning BLM, he's pointing out that he's seen footage of his friends have taken. Yeah, I read the post. I read the actual post. I know what he said. And then you're telling me that all these interviews I've seen of all these people that have gone to the riots, have gone to the protests that have turned into riots, all of those people have gotten together and said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to blame everything on these peaceful protests. These peaceful protesters are just actually rioters. That's what we're going to do. All of the interviews I've seen of all of the people who've gone to these things are going to say the exact same thing. They got it together. They got into a meeting and they said, "Yep, that's what we're going to say. We're going to say that they're actually rioters when they're really peaceful protesters, and they're not turning into riots until the police show up. That's what we're going to do. Okay? Okay? Yeah, that's the conspiracy." No. no, that's not happening. And then Mr. H pops in. I simply pointed out another instance of this sort of thing happening, retard. You didn't actually. Your example isn't actually happening. Okay. Riots aren't actually happening. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought the riots were happening. Mr. H again. Michael Reinl is literally a single example, and he's dead already. So I'm not sure what extra justice you're spicy for. You're doing that shitty thing where you take isolated incidents and ball them up with all kinds of other isolated incidents and declare it monolithic. It sucks. Your position sucks. Okay, Mr. H. Well, I was just pointing out that this is evidence that these protesters, these rioters, are actually killing people. That's all I was using that for, and I addressed that here. Well, this is a response to Mr. E, where I point out that, hey, this statement right here, your want to highlight that other protests turn violent have nothing to do with the original post subject matter. All you're doing to wanting to elicit a response for what indicates on 2 counts that you understand my thoughts. Oh, but I'm sorry. That's my mistake. I thought you understood English. These people don't make any sense to me. I'm just like, wow. I respond to Mr. M. Him telling me that I just talk about BLM all the time. I'm like, I use that example because it's topical. There are other examples of this happening throughout history. It was just the first one that came to mind. Right. Mislabeling people is wrong. And then Mr. H. Nope, the media has been referring to rioters as peaceful since this all started. My comments about Michael Reinl were not even aimed at you. They are aimed at someone who seems to think Antifa is not murdering people. So then Mr. H responds with this. Hey, genius! A rioter, by definition, is not peaceful. Nobody says peaceful rioters. That's ridiculous. What you can't grasp here is the possibility of rioters existing in tandem with peaceful protesters. Because 2 groups of people, and I'll speak very slowly here, can be next to each other doing different things about the same complaint. Did that make sense? Say, for example, there is a peaceful protest, and then riot cops suddenly try to clear the street with tear gas and rubber bullets. Sometimes that will almost always turn into a riot. My comments about Michael Reinl were not even aimed at you. I don't effing care. You're still wrong. Reinl considered himself Antifa, but Antifa isn't an organization you join. It's just an idea to resist fascism. And since we're neck deep in your stupid whataboutism here, and he posts to an article that I'll refer to in a moment. But we can see how this person is an idiot. I never said that peaceful protesters and rioters couldn't exist at the same time. When did I say that? Never. Of course, peaceful protesters and rioters can exist at the same time in nearly the same place. And Antifa is an organization. It is an organization. Where are you getting this idea that Antifa isn't an organization? It's just not organized around a centralized leadership. He was an activist doing things for Antifa in the name of Antifa. He would go to riots and work as an Antifa member. These people are insane. This Mr. H has no idea what he's talking about. Now, the article he refers to here is here. Trump frequently accuses the far left of inciting violence, yet right-wing extremists have killed 329 victims in the last 25 years, while Antifa members haven't killed anyone, according to a new study. Okay, we already talked about Michael Reinl. That's at least one. We have the video evidence of that happening. On top of which, there was that security guard recently who was, I think he was an Antifa member, yeah, at least an Antifa supporter. He shot the Trump supporter in the face and killed him. These people on the left are killing people. Now, this might come out of the ADL. I looked at the ADL's page, and the ADL says, yeah, Antifa has never killed anyone. People are dying in the riots because of what Antifa is doing. We know this. So Antifa has killed people. And you wanna lump all right wing extremists together All of them. No matter who they're, if they're white nationalists, if they're the KKK, if they're any of these groups, you just lump them all together. But we're only going to look at one left-wing group, only Antifa, only Antifa. We're not gonna include BLM or any other left-wing activists in there. Okay, that's not biased at all. And I look at these articles. You've seen me read these articles on my channel. These so-called reporters have to put out an article like every day or every week. They need to have an idea to sell, and this is just hyperbolic garbage. They know they can get clicks on this, so they make up this stuff and they put it out there for you to see. And then you have finally one last post here from Mr. E. English is hard for this one apparently, and then blames other for not understand. Typical reflection. I'm not the one who's misunderstanding here. You're the ones who are like pointing the finger at me and saying that I mean this and telling me what I think. No, I've told you clearly that I'm just saying that we shouldn't mislabel things, and we're mislabeling the rioters as peaceful protesters. We're mislabeling this lady as an activist when she is just asking for basic human rights in this country, what could be considered basic human rights. There was a couple other posts on here that I can't find anymore. This has been apparently deleted off of Facebook. I had to go into my log to get what we have here. There was another person who was like, "Oh, but what about whataboutism?" I'm like, I'm not saying what about. I'm not saying what about. You people. And there was another one from the original poster, Mr. M. He was saying, it was just another more of the same, like, all you ever post about is BLM, and I hope you get help with your anger. And I'm like, am I the one who's angry in this situation? Maybe I have an anger problem. That's neither here nor there, because I'm not the one who's dogpiling on somebody and pointing the finger and making accusations and attacking them, verbally attacking someone. I'm not the one who's doing that. All the other people on here are the ones who are doing that. I did insult a few people, but I mean, come on, look at what they were throwing at me. I got a little salty back at them. But Mr. M, I can't even talk to this guy anymore. He was going off about white privilege once because he was hogging a machine in the gym, and this white guy wanted to use it. He's like, I was using the machine for an hour. I have the right to use it. And it's like, dude, in a public gym, you don't use a machine for an hour. There have been other things I've responded to, and here there was one video that was posted, labeled right on the video, right on top of the video. This racist lady doesn't want this woman of another race touching her hair, and the lady said nothing at all about race. Nothing at all about race. It was just, I don't want this person cutting my hair. Okay, you're allowed to decide who you want to have style your hair. So I'm not going on Facebook anymore. There's no point to it. It's just complete and utter garbage. Oh, man. Thanks for watching. I learned a valuable lesson today about the left.